Welcome class. Today we are going to discuss the state, which is one of the important topic regarding political science. In today's lecture we will cover the state regarding things like we will discuss the origin of the state, we will define state, and in the latter part we will discuss the elements by which a state came into being existence. So without wasting our time, let's start. State, origin of the term. So the state is it's a politically organized community. It exists from the human since since the early times. So the ancient Greeks called it polis. Polis mean politically organized city community or city state. We now call it. So from polis is derived the English term politics. The even the Romans, the ancient Romans called the city state as civitas, from which the English word cities, citizens, or civilization or civic, etc. they have been derived. Even Romans called it status republican, and the latter term status became state in the Italian in the Middle Ages and adopted different forms and different names in 15th century, 16th century. So even in French, in English, in German, they named it state, and later on. So different countries, European especially, they adopted the name state for this. Here is a definition regarding state, and it is a full, we can say a complete definition covering all those four elements here. A state is I'm going to zoom it. A state is a community of persons. So what the essential element, the first one is the persons, the peoples, the public. The first, a state is a community of persons, more or less numerous, depending upon what their numbers. So everything a definite territory. Occupying a definite territory means they need to occupy a definite area, territory, and they possessing an organized government. So the needs of a government is the third one, and occupying interdependence from external control. So they must be sovereign. So this definition clarifies you that the four important elements give a shape of a state, a complete one. This is simple. And next, here it is what it is. It is a people permanently occupying a fixed territory. The people who are living, who occupy a land, an area fixed and territory permanently, they are living there and bound by a common law. They have their own laws, habits, and customs. So every area, every land, every country, they have their own habits, their own culture, their own traditions, their own customs, and to living there, and to one body politic. So they exercising through the medium of an organized government. So again, there needs a government and independent sovereignty. Again, the important element is being covered, and control over all persons and things within its boundaries. So they must be sovereign and controlled. So capable of making war and peace and entering into international relations with other communities of the globe. So this is a complete sort of definition regarding state, that a state must be a do like this, covering all those elements. We will discuss in detail all those in the latter part of this lecture. Next, so there are some other perception regarding The state that a state, according to Burgess, state is a particular portion of life mankind views as an organized unit. Bluntly regards state as the politically organized people of a definite territory. So he also covered the people and the territory in the above definition. There must be a particular portion, a specific area, and must be an organized unit. Next definition: the state, is the highest form of human association and is necessary because it comes into existence out of the basic needs of life, continues to remain for the sake of the good life. So Woodrow Wilson, a state is a people organized for law within a definite territory. Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, defined as a union of families and villages having for its end and perfect and self and sufficing life, for which it meant a happy and good life. So Burgess defined the state as a particular portion of mankind earlier viewed as an organized unit in the previous slide. Next, Sedgwick, Garner, Lasky, all these have defined the state. You may note down from this lecture or slide. So now comes to the elements of the state without wasting over time. From those definitions which I have discussed earlier, that the elements of the state are evident. So the two elements are physical one elements are called physical one, that is, the first one is population, the second one is territory, and the next two, government and sovereignty, these are the political one, government and sovereignty. So here is a flowchart which give you an impression that population, what it is and what it should do, and according to Plato and Aristotle, we'll see. So it is the people who make the state. Without people, we cannot think about the existence of a state. Although there is a territory, although there is a government, although there is a sovereignty, but where are the peoples, where are the public, where is the population? So population is the basic or the essential and the physical element of the state. So Greek thinkers were of the view that the population should neither to be large and not to be big or not to be too small. So according to Plato, given an idea of 5040 peoples, and similarly Aristotle round about this number, should not to be large and not to be small. It should be large enough to be self-sufficient, small enough to be well governed. Understand this? Population. Next comes so Greek things are also elements regarding the previous one, that and the Athenian and Spartan. If you want to know about the Athens and the Spartans, so you may go to one of my lecture regarding history in this important channel. Will you find a lecture on the life history and the civilization of the Athens and the Spartan in the Greek city-state, which there I make a complete diagram of all these. So Greek thinkers like Plato making on the number based on the small city-state like Athens and Spartan. So modern states vary in population. Now, the Indian population, the Pakistani population, and the many nations of the European states, it differs. So in this age, the concept has been, especially comes close to the Aristotle, not to be big and not to be small enough. Small enough means that not to be too small that the foreign aggression easily can annex you or can destroy you, and large that would be difficult for a state to feed them. So need not to critically discuss here. So the elements of the state. The second one is territory. There can be no state without a fixed territory. The population is there, but there is no fixed territory. So the people need territory to live and organize themselves socially and politically. It may be remembered that the territory of the states include what? And territory what include the basics of the people's living space, airspace, land, water. All these are the basic needs, in which from these can be and human one can attain these from a definite, when they have a definite territory, so they can fulfill all these basic needs. So the modern states differ in their sizes. Territory is necessary as in the case of population, not definite size in regard to extent the area of state and fixed. So there are small and big states all around. So territory differs. So all these elements have been criticized by different theorists, but we will discuss here principally that what the elements are. Now regarding territorial sovereignty. or of the superiority of the state overall within its boundaries, and complete freedom from external control has been a fundamental principle of modern state. So here is an example of India, and you can quote the example of Pakistan and many of the proximate. So definite territory. Next, the elements of the state. What the elements of the next one would be the government. So if you have a definite territory, if you have a population, you need to be in a government. You need to be sovereign. You need to have a government. Government is the third element of the state, which is very very important. It cannot be, the state is the government is the agent of the state. State is the permanent one, and the state. There can be no state without government. If the government is weak, then the state would be withered out, would be vanished, would be destroyed. So government is the working agency of the state. So it is the political organization of the state. So appropriately called government as the agency through which the force of the state is formulated, expressed, and realized. So in the last, strong in order to make enforce laws, and state must have highest authority. This is called the government. The government has a high authority and it works for the state. Next is the sovereignty. Sovereign means they must be sovereign in all their affairs, and this is the important, the fourth element of the state. The word sovereignty means supreme will or the final legal authority over and above which no legal power exists. Sovereignty has two aspects: internal sovereignty, external sovereignty. Internally means that the state is supreme in overall in all its affairs within the state, intrastate on all its citizens and associations and corporations and many other areas. So external sovereignty means that the state is independent and free from the foreign or the outside control. So free from, and there should be no force or compulsion on the affairs of the state externally. But if we discuss it critically, that in world politics there is no state which is externally sovereign or even internally sovereign. So that is a critical one. So thank you very much, students. If you have a question, so let me know in my comments.